My name is Claire Dawson, and for almost 5 years I had learned to survive my mother-in-law's cold behavior without letting it destroy my marriage. Her name was Vivian. She had never openly said that she disliked me. In fact, around other people she was always polite, but there was a difference between being polite and being welcoming. Whenever I visited her house, she would find a reason to remind me that it was her son's family home long before I became part of it. If I bought something for my husband, she would say, "Mark never needed expensive things before he got married." I cooked dinner for him, she would smile and say, "My son used to prefer my cooking." Whenever Mark and I made an important decision, Vivian somehow found a way to question it. Still, I never fought with her. Mark always told me the same thing. Mom is difficult, but she means well. I tried to believe him. Then one Thursday afternoon, Vivian sent me a message. "Come to Sunday dinner this week." I stared at my phone. Sunday dinner was a family tradition. Every month, Vivian invited everyone to her house, her husband, her 2 sisters, Mark, me, and sometimes a few cousins. I had attended those dinners for years, so I replied, "Is everything okay?" Her response came almost immediately. "It's better if you stay home. This is a family matter." I felt something sink inside me. I called Mark. He didn't answer. I called again. Still nothing. I sent him a message explaining what had happened. He replied almost an hour later. "I'll talk to you tonight." That was all. I sat on the couch staring at the message. For the first time I wondered if Vivian had finally convinced Mark that I didn't belong in his family. But I decided I wasn't going to beg for an invitation. If she wanted me gone, I would stay home. Sunday came. At 6 in the evening, I was sitting alone in my apartment when my phone rang. It was Mark. I answered. His voice sounded strange. "Claire, where are you?" "At home." "Good," I frowned. "Why?" There was a long silence. Then he said, "Mom just told everyone something about you." Stomach tightened. "What?" "She said you knew about Dad's missing money." I stood up. "What missing money?" Mark lowered his voice. "Dad's retirement account is missing almost 38,000. I was stunned. "What does that have to do with me?" "I don't know. She say I took it." "She didn't exactly say that." "Mark," he sighed. "Said you were the only person outside the family who knew about the account." I couldn't believe it. I had never even seen his father's retirement account. "I don't know anything about your dad's money." "I know." "Then why is your mother saying this?" "I don't know," he repeated. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "Claire, I think Mom wanted you away from dinner because she knew I would ask questions." "What questions?" "She wouldn't tell me." Mark came home less than 30 minutes later. He was carrying a folder. He put it on the kitchen table. "Dad asked me to look through these." Inside were bank statements, account records, and several printed emails. Mark pointed to one page. "Look at this." I looked. There had been several withdrawals from his father's account over the previous 4 months. Some were small, $2 $400, $3 $800, $5 $600. But together they totaled nearly 38,000. "Do you recognize any of these?" "No." "Neither do I." Then I noticed something. "What's this company?" Mark looked at the page. "Northbridge Financial Services." "Have you heard of it?" "No." I looked at the dates. "Mark, these withdrawals happened every few weeks." He nodded. "Look at the authorization." I pointed to the bottom of the statement. There was a digital authorization code. Mark opened another document. The same code appeared there, but something didn't make sense. "Why would your father authorize these payments?" "He says he didn't." I looked at Mark. Then someone had access to his account. Mark nodded slowly, and Mom knew about it. Next morning, Mark called his father. His father was furious. He said he had never authorized those payments, but there was another problem. Vivian had already told several relatives that she believed the money was connected to me. Mark confronted her. She immediately became defensive. "Why are you protecting Claire?" "Because she didn't do anything." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." "How?" "Because she wasn't even here when the transactions happened." Became quiet. Then she said something strange. "You don't understand what I've been dealing with." Mark asked, "What does that mean?" She refused to answer. That afternoon, Mark's father hired an accountant to investigate the account. The accountant discovered something important. The money hadn't gone directly to Vivian. Instead, it had been transferred to a small company. And that company was connected to someone in Vivian's social circle. A man named Gregory. Gregory had helped Vivian with financial paperwork several months earlier. The accountant traced the transactions further. The money had been transferred from the retirement account to the company, then from the company to another account, then to a third account. It looked deliberately complicated, but there was one mistake. One of the transfers had been made using a computer registered at Vivian's house. Mark couldn't believe it. "Are you saying my mother did this?" The accountant shook his head. "I'm saying someone at that house had access." That evening, Mark returned home. He looked exhausted. "What happened?" He sat down. Mom admitted Gregory had access to Dad's computer. I stared at him. "Why?" She said she trusted him. "Now she doesn't." Mark told me that Gregory had been helping Vivian manage several unpaid bills. He had convinced her that he could help reorganize the family's finances. but he had secretly gained access to the retirement account. And he used Vivian's information to authorize the transfers. The reason Vivian had blamed me became clear. She had been terrified that the family would discover that she had allowed Gregory access. So instead of admitting her mistake, she created suspicion around me. And the family dinner was supposed to be the place where she convinced everyone that I was somehow involved. But she didn't expect Mark to investigate. 2 days later, the accountant found the final piece of evidence, an email from Gregory. He had accidentally sent Vivian a document containing a list of the transfers. The document showed exactly where the money had gone. Gregory had stolen it. Vivian had not taken the money, but she had made one terrible mistake. She had trusted the wrong person. Gregory was reported to the authorities. The bank froze the remaining funds, and over the next few months most of the stolen money was recovered. But something else had changed. Vivian no longer looked at me with the same confidence. One evening she came to our house. She stood outside the door for several seconds before knocking. Mark opened it. Looked past him at me. "Can I talk to Claire?" I nodded. She came inside. We sat at the kitchen table. Vivian kept staring at her hands. Finally she said, "I owe you an apology." I didn't answer. She continued, "I accused you without evidence. Yes, I excluded you from dinner because I was afraid." Afraid of what? That everyone would discover how badly I had handled things. I looked at her. "You could have told the truth." "I know," she started crying. "I thought if I made people suspicious of you, nobody would look at me." I remained silent. Then she said, "When Mark defended you, I realized something. Never tried to take my son away from me." I looked down. "I never wanted to." She nodded. "You just wanted to be treated like part of the family." That sentence surprised me because for years that was all I had wanted, not control, not special treatment, just respect. Vivian wiped her eyes. "I don't expect you to forgive me immediately." "I don't know if I can." She nodded. "That's fair." She stood up. Before leaving, she stopped at the door. "Sunday dinner is next week." I looked at her. She smiled sadly. "If you want to come." I almost laughed. "Are you actually inviting me?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because this time I want you there." The following Sunday I went to Vivian's house. When I walked through the door, everyone was already sitting at the table. Vivian looked at me, then she pulled out a chair. "This one's yours." I sat down. For the first time in years, nobody made a comment about what I was wearing. Nobody questioned what I had bought. Nobody reminded me that I wasn't part of the family. We simply ate dinner. And somehow that ordinary dinner felt more meaningful than all the previous ones combined. Later that night, Vivian came into the kitchen while I was helping clean the dishes. She quietly said, "Claire." "Yes, thank you for coming." I smiled. "You invited me." She laughed softly. "I know." Then she paused. "I didn't realize how much I wanted you to until I almost lost the chance." I never forgot the night she told me not to come to dinner. At the time, I thought she was pushing me out of the family. But sometimes the truth is more complicated. Sometimes people exclude you because they're afraid of what you'll discover. And sometimes, when the truth finally comes out, they realize the person they blamed was actually the person they should have trusted all along.